that time again. It's time for Diary of a Physicist Farmgal. This is episode number 5. If you're a returning viewer, I'm sure glad that you're here and welcome back. I hope you've enjoyed what you've seen so far, and if you're just finding us for the first time, welcome to the Funny Farm. This is my buddy Willie. He's one of my 14 dogs. And he likes to come in while I'm recording, and if he doesn't, frankly, he stands at the door and scratches. If you're looking for me, you can find my farm on Facebook as Buckthorn Farms, and then I am on Instagram and Ravelry as Doc Firewoman, and I'll put all that information in the episode information down below. So welcome back to Diary of a Physicist Farmgal, episode number 5. Okay guys, the first thing I want to talk about is I am having a charity make-along. There is a Ravelry group for the podcast, and I am having a charity make-along, and it's a pretty fast and loose with the rules. Charity, you sleepy there, buddy? Having a pretty fast and loose rules with a charity make-along. I'll take any craft. You can sew, you can knit, you can crochet, you can quilt. And I will trust that you donate it to your charity when you're done, and you can make as many items as you'd like. There will be some giveaways. I have showed in the past, I'm going to donate 2 skeins of Paradise Fibers donated yarn. It's Lamb's Pride. It's a bulky weight yarn, and I'm going to donate 2 skeins of that since they were kind enough to donate it to me to review. Also, Jasmine from Tesla Knits is sending some really pretty project bags and some notions, and Leon Alexander Yarns is going to kindly donate some yarn as well, and his yarn is beautiful, so I really encourage you to check out the Ravelry group as these things come in. I'll post photos. The charity make-along is running from now until July 2nd, which is my birthday. I know that seems kind of a weird day, but it's my birthday, and I thought, well, that'll be as good a day as any to end it. So it's going to be pretty loose. Right now I just have a chatter thread up. I would love to know about what charity you're donating to, and feel free to make as many items as you would like. And if you need ideas, ask some questions on there, and I'm sure there are some people that will give you some ideas. And this can be human charities or it can be animal charities. I don't care. Let's just do some good in the world, okay? Okay guys, I wanted to share a little bit about why I felt like I wanted to do a charity make-along. I'm a university professor, as some of you guys know. I'm a physics and astronomy professor at a local 4-year university. And about 3 years ago, I was accepted as a service learning faculty fellow. And what that means is I was taking a course in the summer. It was more of a workshop type course with other faculty members from across campus to learn about using service learning in our classes. And service learning is in part community service, but also you want your students to learn something from the experience. So I use my model of learning about being a public scholar as my sort of platform for my service learning projects about how my students can develop programs to communicate scientific ideas to a broad range of audiences. Well, this workshop, what we did was we went around and visited some of the community partners, and I was really glad that we did because it got me thinking outside of just, providing tutoring services. That was the first thing that I thought of is, oh, well, my students would be really good at tutoring math or science or whatever. So I'm really glad that we did visit with some community partners because it got me thinking about some of the different things. Also, it made me more aware of the needs that were in the community where I work. And I wanted to share one particular experience. We went to a place where it's an umbrella organization that has several different children's protection organizations underneath it, like CASA, which is Court-Appointed Special Advocates, and I have a friend who volunteers for the CASA program. There were a couple of others, and I can't remember the acronym. But one of them was one of the groups that when they bring in a child who has been assaulted, and this can be by a stranger or by a family member, but they had facilities there to interview the child, but they also had facilities there to do a medical examination. And, if you're a woman and you've been to the gynecologist, you pretty well know what the room looked like. But around the top of the room was a whole bunch of teddy bears. They mostly were store-bought, but a whole bunch of teddy bears. And someone asked why there were so many teddy bears, and they said, well, we give them to the kids while we're doing the exam for them to hold, to give them some comfort. And I teared up, and I am not a person to cry in front of people, but that really, and it still today, profoundly affects me to think about, something, you think about the innocence of a child and their favorite teddy bear being put in such a god-awful situation. And then you walk outside and there's a tree out there with all these cut-out leaves on it. And somebody asked about that, and every leaf represented a child that they had helped there, and there were over 1,000. And you think in a little bitty rural Arkansas town, I mean, granted, the town I work in is not that small, but, it's 50,000 people, maybe 60. 1,000 kids. That's not okay. That's not okay with me, and I'm glad that this organization exists to be able to help these kids, but that really, really got to me. And so I think it's important to give back to the community that you're in and try to make the life better, whether it's for children or elderly people or animals or the homeless. And so that's part of the reason why I wanted to start off whatever this is that I'm doing with a charity Makealong. Please tell your friends. Please share it. There are going to be some prizes, but that, I hope, is not the reason why people will sign up. It's because, it's the right thing to do. It's like that video that I mentioned, State Farm, the following video. You lift the weight of caring by doing, and I really believe that that's true. So I just wanted to kind of speak to why I think it's important to give back to your community. So, okay, now we'll move on to what I'm working on. Okay, guys, I hope the light in here is not too terrible. I tried moving the camera to some different spots, but nothing seemed to be working. So I only have one completed object, only one FO this week, but boy, it's a mountain that I climbed. I finished my Cyril Socks. Okay. Now, this is a pattern by Danny George from the Little Bobbins podcast, and there is a beautiful, beautiful story behind why she designed these socks the way that she did. And you can see there's a little cabling detail here. I guess it's supposed to look like the set of a ring. If you've watched the Grocery Girls podcast or you've read the pattern page for these, you know that her wedding ring set is a vintage set, and there were two names engraved in it, Rita and Cyril. And so she sort of imagined the love story that they had between them, and I thought that was really, really cool. But it's a nice cabling detail. Now, let's talk about the positives about these socks, okay? I love how they fit. I finally got my tension right, and I have a nice, even, beautiful fit on my foot. So, yay, number one. Number two, I did a German short row heel, and I finally have mastered picking up stitches correctly to close up the holes. So I don't have any holes in my heel. So number two, yay, I did that. Okay. Yeah, and I think the design is beautiful. Okay, I really do. And I think that once you get it on your foot, it really, really stands out. It was really one of those designs that needs to be stretched out to look right. But again, this yarn, y'all. I know a lot of people use this, and I used it because I wanted to be a little budget conscious. You can't always go for the really nice indie dyed yarn. As much as I like to support makers, sometimes my pocketbook just says, hey, maybe you need to go buy the big box yarn. Okay, so I do. This yarn was so splitty. I mean, you can even see some places where it's kind of fuzzy looking on it. That's where the yarn has split. I don't know how well these socks are going to hold up. I hope that they do hold up well. I've got two more balls of this yarn in a different colorway that I'm going to make my Derivé socks for the Knitting Expat Sock Club. out of. I'm going to change to my Luca needles because they're not as sharp as those Addy Turbos I was using. And I hope to goodness that that solves the problem, because if it doesn't, I'm not buying any more of this mess, okay? You know, budget conscious is one thing, but fighting something every step of the flipping way, not worth it. I'll try a different big box store brand, but I'll not buy any more of this if it's as bad the second time through. You get 2 chances, and that's it. My sock blockers were made by Jasmine at Tesla Knits. She makes them in different sizes. I got the size large because it fits a woman's 9-10 foot, and I wear a 10. They're very reasonably priced, and she has lots of cute designs, so I recommend looking up her Etsy shop, and if you need some more sock blockers at an economical price, I recommend you check her out, because these are really great, they work good, and they're lightweight, so yeah, they're easy to store. Okay, so this is my only FO this week. I don't have anything else done, and I'll explain why not on one of the things that I thought I was going to have done in just a second. Okay, so I had all the best intentions in the world of finishing my Tangram Wrap. I was going to get it done in time for the Treehouse Knits deadline for their kit along. I was gunning and running, and boy, I really thought I was going to go. Until I lost at Yarn Chicken. Now, I checked my gauge, and it's pretty well on, okay? I checked to make sure I wasn't using the wrong size hook. I'm using my Crochet Light hook, which I had upside down last week, so I apologize for that. Anyway, I got all the way through to the end of the blue-gray triangle, and I've got about probably 4 more rows to go. And I ran out right there. So I was like, well, if I'm going to run out on this one, I'm probably going to run out on the next one, because it just seems to be getting exponentially worse. So I don't know if my gauge is too loose or whatever, but it doesn't matter. I'm using Lion Brand jeans for this. It was a kit that I purchased from Lion Brand, and I believe you can download the pattern for free from the Lion Brand website, or you can buy it through her webpage if you don't want ads on it. So what I did was, and this is the one good thing I will say about not finishing this but doing it for the kit along. If I had waited, you know, a year until I made this kit and then ran out, I promise you I probably would not have been able to find all the colors of yarn that I needed. So luckily, since I, you know, purchased this just a couple of months ago, I was able to buy another skein or order another skein of the last 3 colors that I need. Just in case, you know, for insurance. I won't use but a very little bit of them, but I'll have some leftover yarn, and it'll be cute for a hat or something. Maybe I'll use it for something in my charity make-along. So, so I didn't get done. I'm almost done. I have, stop that. I have this dark blue or this dark gray triangle, or no, it's not a triangle, it's a rhombus. It's like this light blue. It's a shape like this light blue. And then this color makes a triangle, and then you finish it off with this same color that you started with. So there's a right angle triangle at the end that you finish it off with. Okay, I think it's going to be really pretty. The yarn is fairly soft. It's an acrylic yarn, but it's fairly soft, and I think I'll get a lot of use out of it, because you can wear it as a big scarf, or you can wear it as a wrap, and I wear a lot of blue. I love blue, so I think I'll get a lot of wear out of it. I'm just really glad that I went ahead and started it, so that when I did run out, I was able to actually get the colors that I needed to finish it, because that would have been a real mess if I had waited to start it and then, you know, a year from now and then go, oh, these colors are discontinued. So yeah, so those should be here. I ordered them last week on Thursday or Friday, I think Friday. So they should be here. Excuse me, one of my dogs is really making a racket. This is Miss Feathers, and she was the one responsible for the racket you were listening to. She is my oldest dog. I don't know how old she is, to be honest. She was dumped out in my front yard the Tuesday before Thanksgiving of 2011. And she was clean. You could see where the collar had been on her and they'd taken it off. You can see where her hair was kind of pressed down. She must have been an older person's dog because both of my parents were still alive at the time, and she took up with them immediately. When I took her to the vet at that point, they said she was 12 or 13 years old, and that was 2011. So she's getting on up there. She's my senior girl for sure. You know, she can't hear a thing anymore, and she doesn't have any teeth, but boy, she loves to get out and play and roam around and make a racket, as you just heard. Okay, so anyway, back to what I'm working on. So I'm doing the Lunar Phase Mystery Knit-Along, and Clue 1 was released last week, and I got behind because I was trying to finish those socks and trying to finish that Tangram Wrap. So I'm almost caught up with Clue 1. Clue 2 was released on Friday. So I think I'm going to be able to catch up. I'm going to finish up Clue 1 tonight, I think, and start on Clue 2 probably tomorrow or Wednesday. I don't want to show what I'm working on because I don't know who else is working on it too, and I don't know what the ethic is or the protocol is for showing it. It's going to be really cool looking, but I will show my yarn. What it is it's supposed to be the Night Sky, which is this sort of purpley mauve color, Transition Sky, which is this golden color, the Moon, which is kind of reminiscent of the purpley mauve, but it's a lot lighter and it's got some gold shot through it, and then your accent color, okay, which is the green. I think it's going to be really beautiful. So far it hasn't been too hard, you know. I mean, it's been enough that I've had to pay attention to some rows, and then there are some rest rows, and so I like that because if I'm going to take it to work with me and just knit on it before class, I like not having to just really stare and fuss over it. But it does have some interest in it. I think it's going to be constructed interestingly. I've never had to put stitches on hold before. I don't know how to do that. I mean, I've watched videos and it's not that hard to figure out, but I'm a little anxious about that part. This is in my Constellations bag by Darn Yarn MN. They're on Etsy. I thought it was appropriate to carry that around in my Constellations bag. So that's my Lunar Phase Mystery Knit Along by Larissa Brown. The yarn was by 6 and 7 Fiber. Okay, I know a lot of you are working on the Helen Stewart Curious Handmade Mystery Knit Along. So am I. I have barely even started. I think I've got about that much done, but I have started. And I'm one of those, I'm looking at spoiler images, honestly, because I want to make sure I'm doing it right, because I don't feel like I'm knowledgeable enough in some cases to not mess up. But anyway, so these are my colors. Okay. This one is Primrose Yarn Company Heads Will Roll. It's Merino Cashmere Nylon. The green is Primrose Yarn Company Maple Leaf. And then the dark is Kim Marie's Knit Knacks Area 51. And those are both Merino Nylon 7525. Okay. I think these are going to play well together. I hope. Green is not, this is not a color I would normally pick out for myself to wear, but it looked really pretty with the yarns, and so I think it'll be fine. I think it'll look neat. So I'm excited to see where this goes. I'm going to work on this tonight too. I want to finish the Clue 1 on that other one, but I want to get a little ways to where I've at least introduced my second color on this so that I can see how they look together. I think they're going to be fine, but you never know, right? So that is in my April 9 Designs bag that has otters on it. So it's April 9 Designs on Etsy. And she's also on Instagram as April 9 Designs on Etsy, I think is her name. I'll put it all that contact information down in the episode information. But this bag is really, really nice. It's nice and squishy and padded. The other thing that I like about it, if I can show it, is she's sewn in a ruler. So if you don't happen to have your ruler with you, you've got a sewn in one, which I think is awesome. And she always sends all of her little bags that she sends with some kind of little progress keeper or stitch marker there. So this one's just a little skein of yarn. Okay. Her bags are very well made and they're reasonably priced in my opinion. And I am a sewing snob, so if I won't buy from just anybody. So I like her bags. I like Jasmine's bags so far. Those are the two that I've tried really. I've looked at some other people's bags, and to me these are as good a quality as anybody's. I'm going to make myself some. I just ordered some fabric to do from Etsy. Anyway, I'm going to make myself some, but I do like supporting other sewers. And so, yeah. So April 9 Designs, little otter bag. Okay, now, where did that go? I found, when I was looking for something else, a long abandoned whip. So let me see, where did I put it? Oh, here it is. Okay, now, last year at the fair, rabbit showing is kind of hurry up and wait. They tell you got to be there at a certain time, and then they let the kids go first. So the rabbit show that starts at 2 for the adults doesn't really start until about 8 o'clock at night, but you got to hang around just in case things move faster than you think. So I always take something to work on when I go, and so one of my goals has been to learn to crochet doilies. So one of my friends from work gave me, her mother used to crochet, and her mother had had a stroke and was no longer able to crochet. So she had, I mean, literally a suitcase full of crochet thread. So I bought myself some steel hooks, and I went to crocheting doilies. I started crocheting them during when I was called for jury duty. I'll tell you a quick way to get out of jury duty. They said, you know, they actually called me up to the jury box, and they're like, oh, people are going, oh, I believe I can look somebody in the eye and tell if they're telling the truth or not. I can see their truth. I can see into their soul. And they get to me and ask me what I think, and I said, well, clearly y'all have never dated the guys I've dated, because they can look you square in the eye and lie bald-faced. So this whole I can look them in the eye and tell if they're telling the truth, I'm a scientist. Show me the evidence. I'm like Grissom on CSI. I want to see the evidence. Well, they dismissed me right quick. So, and the biology professor that was sitting in front of me, who said exactly what I said after I said it, she popped up and said exactly the same thing. But anyway, I started crocheting doilies during jury duty. And then I started this one while I was sitting waiting at the rabbit show at the county fair, and I am almost done with it. And I had totally forgot that I had it. I was looking through some stuff, and I found my bag-o bag that my friend Lisa gave me, and I went, oh, what's in there? Well, I found this doily, and I am almost done with it. Okay, it's got cats on it. See, there's kitty cats in the center. I don't know how well you can see that. There you go. There's kitty cats, and then the in-between places, I've just started on the kitty cat heads. There's going to be a kitty cat head that goes right here. So I am almost done with this thing, but I had just totally forgot about it. It has been sitting in this bag probably since, October of last year. So I'm going to finish that up, put that in my fair box, right? Started at the fair, ought to take it to the fair, right? So that is a found UFO or found whip, whatever you want to call it. Okay, now the last thing that I'm working on, since my yarn has not come in for my Tangram Wrap yet, when I'm doing planetarium shows, I like to have something to work on in there while I'm waiting on the kids to get there or while I'm showing the movie. And I find that knitting does not work out very well in there because it is kind of dark. I do have a little lamp back where I'm sitting, but it's a red light lamp because I don't want to mess up my dark room vision or my night vision. So I like to have a crochet project going, and my Tangram Wrap is on hold. So what I had noticed is yesterday Prince and Peddler posted a Happy Easter post, and it was also Sai's birthday. So in honor of Sai's birthday, they were giving away one of their patterns. They were giving away this darling little bunny rabbit. Okay, free little pattern. And I thought, well, that is just stinking cute. And plus, I like anything free. But this was just cute, cute, cute. So I decided that I would download this and I would start some bunny rabbits. And I thought, well, in case I don't get to making the We Were Seeds shawl in time for Yolanda's spring fling knit along, I'm going to make a bunch of bunny rabbits, and that will qualify, because you have to use 50 grams of yarn. So I figured, well, if I make 3 or 4 of these, they ought to certainly qualify. So I just have a lot of scraps. I have no idea what this yarn is. Somebody gave it to me. It's just some cute little rainbow yarn, but it looks very Eastery and springy. So I thought, well, I'm going to make me a whole bait of these bunny rabbits and enter those in the spring fling in case I don't get done with that other shawl in time. I'm trying out this. I bought this from Paradise Fibers. It's one of those ergonomic. It's an Addy. Turn it where y'all can see it. That's what you're left-handed. It goes the wrong way. It's an Addy hook, and it's supposed to be ergonomic because, you know, crocheting on these little animals sometimes makes my hands hurt. So, yeah. So I've got that little guy going as a work in progress so that I have something to work on while I'm at the planetarium shows. So that's all my works in progress. So let's come back and talk about acquisitions. Okay, I'm going to start the acquisition session by saying that I went into the cross-stitch store here locally. We have a world-class cross-stitch store in the town that I work in, and it's actually owned by one of my fellow faculty members' wife. And she has an online presence. I'm going to link her information down below. She has an online presence, and I have been wanting to go in there and purchase some things from her just because I like to help out local people. Well, her sale ad came out, and it had this pattern in it. Oh my goodness. I had to have that. I have got a big plan for this baby. All right. So I had them order that pattern for me, and I went in to pick it up. And I was on the way. This was the day of the science fair, so I had driven my truck that day because I'd actually ordered a cabinet on the other side of town, and I had to go pick it up. So I stopped at the cross-stitch store on my way back because I had a little bit of time to kill. Well, then I get to looking around, and I used to, when I was cross-stitching when I was living in Oklahoma, I had some Mill Hill Company beaded pins, and I didn't know that they even still made them, but yes they do. So I got a sheepy one, okay, and what it is it's all beaded, got all the little beads in it. And then I got, oh, excuse for the crinkling here. Oops, that's not it. Hang on just a second. Let me dig in my bag here. Here it is. I gotta have a witchy, right? Gotta have a witchy. Got her. Okay. And then I had seen on a Historian Knits podcast where they had been cross-stitching some. They had bought themselves a needle minder. Now, I thought, a needle minder? What's that? Because, you know, I used to just stick it in my fabric and go on about my merry way. But I love the doodads, or the tchotchkes, whatever you want to call them. I call them doodads. Okay, so I found a needle minder. Now let me find it down here in the bottomless pit of cross-stitch stuff. Ah, no. Ah, here he is. Now, they had a puppy dog, and you would think that normally I would go for that. But I just thought this little blackbird was so charming that I could not help myself but get him. Okay? She has all these things on her online shop. If you see anything, I really recommend you go there. It's called The Stitcher's Garden, and I'll put the link. Now, I'm a sucker for Halloween. So I saw this, and I had seen this before, and I had intended on purchasing it before. It's a Halloween sampler. And then what she does is she puts together all the special bits and pieces that you need. The beads and the charms and the special threads and everything that you need to do this sampler in a little kit. Okay? So that contains all of the threads, And then it contains the little charm. There's a little witch hat charm on here, and it contains that. All right, now I didn't get the fabric for this yet, but I will. I'll order it at some point. Okay. Then, now, I'm not sure exactly what this says about my mental stability or my childlike nature. I'm just going to call it that, right? She said, oh, look at this. This is really cute. You really need to see this. Because I had seen a little cross-stitched mousie up at the register. And I said, oh, that's so cute. And she said, oh, you like Halloween. Look at this. You cross-stitch her little house. And then it opens up. And she gets to sit in her little house with her stuff. So there she is right there. And then here's her little house. Okay. And you cross stitch all of that. Why on earth do I need that? I want it. You know, I am my mama's child through and through, because she would have loved that too. So anyway, so now we'll move on to some of my other acquisitions. Okay, I meant to mention her on last week's show, but I forgot. Now, Historian Knits podcast has shown these progress keepers and charms several times, and I just fell in love with them and thought they were adorable. By Charmed and Dangerous. Okay. And she has an Etsy shop, Charmed and Dangerous. She has an Etsy shop where she makes progress keepers, earrings, stitch markers. And I bought a couple of things from her. First of all, I bought this little moon. If I can get a hold of it. I bought this little moon. Isn't that sweet? And then what suckered me in, well, the moon did, but the other thing that suckered me in was she had a teeny weeny little polar bear sitting on a little iceberg. So these are little progress keepers, and they're very light. They will not, tug too hard on your knitting. They were very reasonably priced. She ships really fast. She's very sweet. So that's Charmed and Dangerous out of Texas. So I really recommend you look at her Etsy shop. She's so cute. These are called kawaii figures. I have no idea why. I'm sure I could look it up. I'm old. I don't get the cultural reference. I'm sure it has something to do with something. But I could look it up. But I just thought they were cute. So there you go. Okay. Now, another thing that I got. And yeah, again, pins, right? I think I saw on the Stranded podcast, she had a pin pennant where she had all of her pins just hanging on a pennant behind her. I think I may do that because I'm starting to get a few, and I ordered some more today because they were having a second sale and they were cute and I wanted them. Okay, this is from Alum and Ink. Okay, Alum and Ink. Let me find her. Oh, here's her card. On Etsy. She also has an Etsy. No, she's not on Etsy. She has her own store. Or maybe she is on Etsy. I forget. So, oh, she is. She is on Etsy. She is also on Instagram as Alum and Ink. Okay. And she makes beautiful pins. Now, she did send me a free bookmark. And a cute little button with a carrot on it. Or a radish. I guess that's a carrot. But she had a second sale. All right. I like a sale. I like a sale. But I couldn't resist these two, and I think you'll see why when I show them to you. I ordered 2 pins from her on her second sale. The first one is this. Sort of a mountain scene with constellations on it. Okay. And then the other one was a double whammy because it's a narwhal that has a night sky on it. Well, heck yeah, I gotta have that, right? Love that. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful colors. I can't tell you why they're seconds. I've looked at them. I'm like, they look just fine to me. So, great. I'll take them. Sure, you bet. So those are my 2 pen acquisitions of late. So they don't have anything to do with knitting, but I just think that they're pretty, and so I wanted them. Okay, all right. Now, as far as yarniness goes, String Theory Color Works, she was doing some kind of a dyer's challenge where they posted a photograph of an object, and she had to come up with a colorway that reminded her of that object. And it was a photograph of a supernova remnant in all of its glorious, colorful beauty. And so she dyed up a colorway that was reminiscent of that object. The object was W49b, which is, I'm sure, its catalog number. It's a supernova remnant. I forget what constellation it's in. But she put some sock sets up of her entanglement, which is 75% merino, 25% nylon, and here it is. And that is gloriously beautiful. Look at all those beautiful colors. Now, the cool thing is, if you'll notice this black, this is self-striping yarn, but when the black comes, it's got some white flecks in it that look like galaxies. Had to have that, right? And then there were different accent colors you could get in your mini, so I chose the purple one. But this is her set. She always sends a little stitch marker with every skein of yarn that you order. She sends a little stitch marker that kind of goes with it. But this is String Theory Color Works. I believe she's in Florida. And all of her yarns, or most all of her yarns, are scientific names. So the base is called Entanglement, and then this colorway is W49b, which is the object number for that supernova remnant. And it's got 10 rows of the black and white, 5 rows aqua, 5 rows gold, forest green, electric violet, extreme blue, and magenta. So, yeah, I just think that is a glorious, 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 glorious yarn, and I can't wait to make myself some socks out of it. I just think it's beautiful. But I don't want it to be a pattern that's too fussy, because I want the colors to stand out and not block a beautiful pattern. I also ordered from her at a different time. I talked a couple of weeks ago about Stephen Hawking and sort of his impact on my life as far as becoming a scientist. So the day of his passing, I got on there because I knew she had a colorway that was in tribute, or was named after some of his work. So I ordered this. This is called Hawking radiation. And Hawking radiation is the radiation that black holes emit when there is black holes. The environment around a black hole is very extreme, to say the least. And what happens is sometimes energy can turn back into matter. And so what happens right at the event horizon, which is sort of the point of no return for a black hole, a gamma ray can spontaneously turn into an electron, and its antiparticle, the positron. And sometimes when that happens, the trajectory of one of the two particles sends it into the event horizon, which means it leaves our observable universe. And the black hole, being a very polite black hole and wanting to obey the laws of conservation of mass and energy, says, oops, excuse me, let me give you some energy in exchange for that particle. And so what ends up happening is the black hole gets a little bit less massive, and that energy that it gives off to cause it to lose some of its mass is called Hawking radiation, after Stephen Hawking, and that's what this colorway is named for. This, again, is her entanglement base. This is just pink and black striping. It's 463 yards and 100 grams. And it's 75-25 superwash merino and nylon. So it's just pink and black, but it's Hawking radiation. Don't know if I'm going to do socks. Don't know what I'm going to do, but I wanted to do something. I don't know. I'll be honest with you, I'm a depression shopper. And apparently I've been fairly depressed because I came home one day and there were 6 packages on my front porch. And I'm like, oh dear, okay. Okay, so anyway, be that as it may, the last thing I wanted to show is not a recent acquisition, but it is something that I got when I went to my first ever yarn shop before I found the yarn shop here locally. I was on a trip, on a work trip, and I was in Greensboro, North Carolina, and I was taking a walk. There's a lot of really interesting civil rights history in Greensboro. In fact, the Walgreens counter where some young African-American people broke the segregated lunch counter and had sort of a sit-in at the lunch counter, it's there, and they've made a museum out of it, and there's a lot of interesting historical signs, and I'm one of those people that I'll read every one of those historical signs that you put up. I drive people crazy when I go on trips because I'm going to read them all because I want to learn something. Well, there was a yarn shop there called Gate City Yarns, and I bought some really pretty yarn there that I had crocheted myself a shawl out of, but I also bought this. It's a little needle felting kit. And I kind of forgot about having him. He's an easy, because I've never done this before. But it's a little needle felting kit of a sea otter. And so, hey, sea otter, looky. You might like this too. It's by Wool Pets, okay? And it comes with all the stuff that you need to make your little sheepy, okay? And it's got the needles and all in it, so you can learn how to do needle felting. So I'm going to try to make him. It makes 2 apparently, so we'll have 2. Don't know what I'm going to do with them. Probably hang them on a pin here in my sewing room where I can look at them and smile. I've got all these stuffed animals in here because, you know, every 49-year-old woman needs a stuffed armadillo, right? Yes, of course. Well, almost 49. I'm not going to cheat myself just yet. I've got a couple months to go. But anyway, so that, I've had that for a little bit, but I'd kind of forgotten about it, and I eyeballed it as I was walking by coming in here a while ago, so I thought I would share that with you. So that's pretty much all of my acquisitions. So let's move on to future projects. Okay, so some of the things that I want to get accomplished, probably honestly this will be this summer. This summer I'm teaching a couple of online classes. And in the past, I have done a summer science camp, but frankly, last year, I didn't get paid enough to make it worth the drive. I mean, I hate to say that, but it boiled down to, I cleared about $300 for 3 weeks of driving back and forth to work, which is a 100-mile round trip a day. And if you put a pencil to it, I was having to leave the barn because we ride in the summertime, we switched to our summer schedule where we start riding at like 7 a.m. and we ride till about 9:30. And I was having to rush around, change clothes at the barn, drive to work, usually buy something to eat, which was fast food, which is not the greatest for you, and then drive back. And I spent, you know, even though I drive a small car, I'm doing 500 miles a week if I'm having to drive down there every day for an hour. I was driving 2 hours to work for 45 minutes with these kids, and most of them had been to my camp before, and they were getting a little bit older, so they weren't really as enthusiastic about being in a summer camp anymore. So I've just decided this year I'm just not going to do that. It's not, I mean, I might come out ahead a little bit, but the stress of, and probably I didn't, by the time you figure in my gas and all the times that I stopped and got something to eat, probably didn't come out ahead at all, to be quite honest. So probably not going to do that this year. So this summer, I'll be teaching online for part of the summer, and then I'll be helping out over at the barn. And then the rest of the day, I'll either, you know, I like to, in the middle of the day, I like to work on things in the house when it's super hot, because it does get pretty warm here during the summertime, and it's very humid. So I like to have things to work on. But what I want to try to work on is I want to improve my bag making skills. I want to learn to make needle cozies, and I want to make myself some clothes, as well as finish the pile of doom, or work on the pile of doom. So first of all, though, this is not sewing, but remember last time, or a couple of times ago, I said I love tapirs? Oh my goodness, look what I found. It's a tapir. Da, da, da. It's a knitting pattern for a tapir, which I bought from Ravelry for the princely sum of $1. I'm going to make myself a tapir. Isn't he so cute? I just thought that was adorable. I don't know how exactly I ran across that, but, you know, I ran across it and I went, oh, I want to make that. And it was $1. So, isn't he cute with his little white butt? Bah, I love that. Okay, anyway, so that's one of the things that I want to make, and I'm sure that that would take very little time. So, anyway, I bought a lot of fat quarters because I want to try to make some needle cozies. So this is one of the ones I've got. It's got puppies on it. Right, it's got puppies on it. I think these were like 99 cents or $1.29 at the local big box store. So I want to try to make some needle cozies. Or maybe some project bags. This is kind of a bigger scale print, so I might actually use this on a project bag. Then, if you remember the other day with the story of the little dog and my fabric shopping extravaganza, these are some of the fabrics that I picked up. This one is a twill. That is definitely project bag material. Because the way the print is centered, I think you could fussy cut and get a really beautiful project bag out of that. A nice large scale project bag. Okay, so that's a twill. Then I bought another twill that's also project bag material. And it's got doggies on it too. So lots of different doggies. I actually already had some of this. And I ended up buying more. Because I think I had originally earmarked to make myself a shirt or something out of it. So I just thought that was really cute. This is another twill. Then I bought some cotton broadcloth. Now I bought enough of these that I may actually make that dress that I was showing the pattern of a couple of episodes ago. And it will definitely be to my personality, although lately, like I said, I've let my dressing get a little bit casual. But this is the fabric that I bought. It's got unicorns and bunnies and foxes and kitty cats on it, butterflies. Isn't that cute? There's a unicorn up there. I'll turn it over where you can see the unicorn a little bit better. I bought enough of this that I could make a shirt or a little dress or a tunic or something out of. So, because I just didn't know what I was going to make out of it. So, anytime you don't know what you're going to make, buy 4 yards and that's plenty to do pretty much anything with. Then I saw this fabric and I kind of just fell in love with it. I posted a thing on my farm page the other day about how I wanted to be the old lady with the gray hair that had all the animals around me and the wind chimes and the ornaments. And I kind of already am that little lady, honestly. Somebody said I reminded them of the ant from Twister, if you've never seen that movie. And I think I kind of am, because I have about 10 wind chimes and ornaments outside in my front yard and all these animals. But I saw this fabric and I just thought there was something very magical and enchanting about it, so I purchased it. And it's got little ladies on it, little gray-haired ladies carrying flowers, and there's bunny rabbits and leaves and feathers on it. I love this. I love this fabric. This is what started the cascade of fabric buying the other day. So I bought enough of this, again, 4 yards, so it'll make a little dress for me, because I'm a pretty big girl, so I have to make a pretty good sized dress. Or a shirt, probably not a shirt, but it'll make me something, you know. 4 yards is sufficient, really, to do anything you want to with. So that's kind of my future planning. So, yeah, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to insert some clips that I'm starting to call the critter feature, because I had a couple of people contact me and say, I'd like to see some more about your animals. So I went outside today as I was feeding and I took some video with some of my different animals, and I thought over time maybe I could introduce you to my animals and kind of tell you their backstories. So this next little bit is going to be a few clips of some of my different animals, and I'll do this every so often and get around to letting you meet everybody. Okay? All right, we'll be back after that with talking about science. Okay, this is one of my dogs. This is Sadie, and she came to me as a foster dog. She belonged to someone who got himself put in jail, and he didn't bother to tell anybody that he had 2 dogs. And the neighbors happened to hear him barking, and they broke a window and put food and water in the window to him. There was an older dog that was in really bad shape when the local rescue finally got legal permission to get in there and get them. But she is probably 7 or 8 years old. She's part lab, and she's just an Arkansas black dog, as we call them. She's just a mix of something. I do know she's really afraid of men. She's got some dermatitis issues that the vet said really all we could do is keep it knocked down to a dull roar. But she basically was abandoned to die, and the rescue got legal permission to get her out of there, and I fostered her, but it's very hard to adopt out dogs, older dogs especially, and black dogs also. This is Muffins. She is one of my dogs that I've had most of her life. She actually showed up the day we put my father in hospice. She was pretty young when she showed up. She wasn't a puppy, but she was a juvenile. And when she showed up, she had been shot in the leg and had buckshot in her leg. And so she'd been hurt, and then whoever docked her tail, it must have been a homegrown job because they did it too short, and she's actually got some nerve damage back there, so she has issues walking. But she's the most lovable dog, and she is my shadow. She follows me everywhere I go. She follows me everywhere I go. She's literally right behind me 90% of the time. In fact, if I'm not careful, when I turn around, I might trip over her. So she showed up here when she was just a youngster in 2012. So anyway, so that's Muffins and Sadie. Holly Jolly. Come here, Holly. This is Holly. She is one of my older dogs. You can see from her white face. I actually call her Holly because I picked her up at the Shell gas station in Atkins on Christmas Day. She had been left there, and she was running back and forth to cars, just begging somebody to take her. Cheers! Goodness gracious. And some friends of mine were coming through town, and I was trying to visit with them. And Ears is not going to shut up, apparently. Hey! And she had been left there, and my friends and I were standing there visiting, and she came up to me, and I had some pizza crust that I gave her, and she kept standing there, and my friend Marla said, "You're going to take that dog home, aren't you?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I am." And so I loaded her up in the car and took her home. So I named her Holly because she showed up on Christmas Day. Yes, pretty girl. This sweetie is my lucky dog. He was found at Brock Creek Campground. Me and my friend Carol were out for a gander, and we were looking for places where we could go trail riding, and we were just kind of checking them out to see if we could get a horse trailer up there. And we were at Brock Creek, and I said, well, let's just drive up to the campground. And there was this young puppy. He was old enough that he was probably not been away from his mama very long, but he was laying in a pile of trash. He was very weak. He had hurt his eye, and he could barely stand. And he stood up, and he looked at me like, "You're not going to help me either, are you?" And I looked at my friend Carol, and I said, "I'm fixing to take that dog home." And she said, "Okay." So I loaded him up. Shh. I loaded him up in the car and took him home, and he's been my special boy ever since. Very sweet little boy. He curled up on the back seat of my car, and he just fell asleep, and he's been my sweet boy ever since. So anyway, that's Lucky Pup. Now this is Fizzy Cat. Okay. Fizzy Cat came to me through a friend of mine's son who found her in the parking lot of the local heavy equipment rental place, and she was still a tiny, tiny, tiny little baby. She had blue eyes, and I had to bottle feed her every day, every few hours. So Fizzy Cat got to go to work with me every day, so hence the name. Phizzy is spelled P-H-I-Z-Z-Y for Physics Cat. She got to go to campus with me every single day so I could bottle feed her. And she even went to Oklahoma to the warm blood inspection when I took Trixie out there for her warm blood inspection. She's rotten as she can be. She thinks she rules the world. But I guess that's what happens when you bottle raise one. So anyway, this is Fizzy Cat. She's probably my youngest cat. But I've had her since she was probably not even quite a week old. So, Fizzy. Okay, this is Leaf, and she came to me through a friend of mine. My friend Tara had actually rescued her She and a little mini horse stallion and a little mini jack donkey were chained up in a garbage dump. And poor little Leaf didn't have hardly any hair on her. And every time Leaf, you know, because the two males were intact, she had had numerous babies that would then be killed when the two males would start fighting when she would come back into heat. So I feel sad for Leaf because she seems to have had a pretty sad life, but she's a sweet little girl. She's very friendly. Yes, she's very friendly. Yeah, she's a good girl. She does have some sight issues. She can't see very well, but luckily her buddy Charlie is sort of her seeing eye pony. This was also one of Tara's ponies, and her little girl had just kind of outgrown them both, and she asked if I would take them on, and I said sure, I'll be glad to. They're very sweet little guys. Charlie is broke to harness. I had contemplated maybe letting Leaf have a baby to raise just to maybe help her out, but we found out when the vet came that Leaf is pretty old. She's over her 20, and so I didn't want to put her at risk. I do have a very young mini horse, and he's kind of taken up with her. So this is Leaf and Charlie, and they're a couple of my mini horses. This is Pumpkin, and she's a miniature mule. She's just fat. She's not pregnant. She came to me through a girl that I know. I actually have a mutual friend, but through my horse vet, actually. Pumpkin was being abused by some people. They were roping her and dragging her around at roping practice, or they were really big, heavy guys were getting on her and riding her and thought it was funny. And Gina got her, sort of rescued her from that situation. And then my vet helped Gina get in contact with me, and I brought Pumpkin home. You know, human beings have been very cruel to her, so she's not very trusting, but we're working on it. She's got a lot of personality, but she thinks she's a horse. So she does not want to hang out with the donkeys. She wants to hang out with the horses. So that's where she gets to stay, is out with the horses, because that's where she's happy. So this is Pumpkin. And she is a miniature mule. She is not a donkey. She is a miniature mule. She would like you to know that. Thank you very much. Right? Right. These are my geese. They're Sebastopol geese. And they're very loud. This is Bodacious. Over there we have Peapod, who is a baby I raised from a gosling. I hatched her out, carried her home from the girl who hatched her for me under a hen. I carried her home in my sweatshirt pocket. Next to her is Possum, which is another baby that I raised. And then Miss Chris over here. These are Sebastopol geese. They're usually very gentle unless they're nesting. Okay. But right now they're getting ready to start laying eggs and nesting, so they're a little more irritable than usual. But my Bodacious. Y'all are loud. This is one of my mini Rex does. This is Miss Fame. I name most of my rabbits after drag queens. If you've never petted a mini Rex before, they are the softest thing in the whole world. They are very soft, and their fur feels kind of like I would imagine a mink coat to feel, although I've never touched a mink coat. But anyway, this is Miss Fame, one of my mini Rex. This is my newest addition. This is Sasha Velour. This is one of my Flemish giant bucks. Okay, and he's really big. You can kind of get an idea. He's just a youngster. He's not even a year old yet, but you get an idea of just how big he is. And he is really sweet. Flemish giant tend to be pretty gentle. And yeah, that's pretty much all I can say about him. So, yep, this is Sasha Velour. Okay, so work has been going well. We're down to the last few weeks of the semester, so everybody's kind of in a rush to get things done. And a couple of things that I did this past week. Hang on, Willie wants up here. Come on. Okay, So a couple of things that happened this past week. First of all, I found out one of my really good students got accepted to a summer research position for undergraduates. There's a program that's funded by the National Science Foundation called the REU program, and it stands for Research Experience for Undergraduates. And it's an opportunity for students to go and do research at a big university, and a lot of times it opens some pretty important doors for them. In the past, I've had students get accepted to really good top 10, Big 10 or whatever, not Big 10 as in football, but Big 10 as we in academia and science schools, or Ivy League, I guess is what you would call them, because of their experiences working at REUs. So one of my students had applied to a few, but he really, really, really wanted a particular one, and he hadn't heard anything, and he was starting to get pretty dejected, and I had asked him, Monday of last week, hey, have you heard anything yet? And he said no. Well, the next morning he tracked me down. He said, I got an email, I got in to the one that he wanted. And it turned out they took 9 people and had over 200 applications. So I was so proud of him for getting into that REU. I had written him a letter of recommendation, but even a letter of recommendation doesn't do any good if there's not, if the student doesn't have the chops. So I was really, really proud of him. He's so excited to get to go to this REU this summer. It'll be a great experience for him, because a lot of times what they'll do is not only will they pay them a stipend to go out there and do work, they'll also pay their registration fees and their attendance fees to a national level meeting. So he'll get to participate, in one of our flagship astrophysics meetings. And so I'm really excited for him about that. Also, it was kind of funny last week. I had another great planetarium show with some really excited young people in there. They asked lots of good questions, and I was really tickled about that. And then on Tuesday, I did a lab with some of my college students, and there's this one particular lab that I do that's about optics, so about how lenses work and mirrors and your eye and all of this stuff. And we have this thing, and you used to be able to buy them at like gift shops. It's called a UFO mirror or a mirage mirror, and it's kind of shaped like a UFO. And what it is it's a bowl-shaped mirror topped with a bowl-shaped mirror, but the top one has a cutout in the top of it. And then you can put something down in there, and it creates an image of that something in that opening. And everybody tries to touch it, and my students, watching these college-age students go, whoa, that's cool. That made me really feel good. So I always enjoy that lab because they get really excited. Then on Friday of last week, I had volunteered to judge for the state science fair. So if you're not familiar with how the science fair system works, they start out at their school, and then they go to a regional fair usually, or maybe a town or a more local fair, and then they go to regional, and then they go to state. If they get selected at a certain level, they go to state. They go to the state science fair, and then at the state science fair, they choose the students that go on to the international science fair that's sponsored by Intel. And that's a big deal to go to the international fair. And in fact, we have had students win some of the top prizes out of Arkansas for the past 3 years. And that's a big deal for this state because, we're a pretty poverty level state, and unfortunately academia is usually, especially science education, a lot of times is the whipping boy when it comes to political maneuvering, So I'm very excited that the kids do so well, because then we can say, this is important, this matters, and it brings in, it brings employers to the state to have an educated workforce and a highly skilled and educated workforce. And even if they don't go on and do, say, for example, physics, they learn critical thinking skills. I was talking with my students about that today. It's important to do all sorts of education because everything you learn forms or helps inform your decision-making process. We were talking about the word polymath today in my class. One of my students had done a little presentation on Edwin Schrodinger, and about he was a polymath, which is another way of saying a Renaissance person, meaning that he was interested in a lot of different subjects and sort of synthesized them all. If you want to use the word holistic, I suppose you could say that, or he synthesized his learning. And on a small level, I try to be that kind of person too. I'm interested in a lot of different areas. And I told him, I said, that's why the classical 4-year college education is you have to take these other subjects. You have to take, the social sciences, or you have to take history or art or music or whatever, because those things can actually shape and inform your critical thinking. And it teaches you about other cultures. And as much as we would like to believe we're a little island here a lot of times, we are not. We are part of the world. We are citizens of the world, and we have to learn to engage with the world, which means we have to understand the context when we're dealing with business or we're dealing with social situations or political situations. You have to deal with the world. And so being a well-read person and a person who has some understanding of world history and world events, I think is really important, even for a physics major, and understanding their culture. So understanding literature and music, I think all of those things matter. And maybe that's because I'm an academic, but I don't think so. I think it's because I am a lifelong learner. I think that there's always more to know. There's always new skills to learn. That's part of the reason why I started doing this podcast, because I want to eventually start a nonprofit, educational nonprofit here about heritage life skills, canning and preserving, and how to drive teams of horses, and how to do leather work, and all of these things, that I think are useful to know, and they give you a broader perspective. But anyway, so we were talking about that today, and I also showed him a video, and I'm going to link it below, and it's not necessarily a very happy video, but it's very insightful. I grew up during the Cold War, and I've always been somewhat fascinated with the nuclear arms race and the development of nuclear weapons, and its impact on society and humanity. Part of that is because my father, I'm a late life baby for my parents, and my father was in World War II in the Japanese theater. He drove a troop transport boat, which was the little boat that drove the troops up to the beach and let them out. He was the 6th boat to land on the beach at Okinawa, and his boat was fitting with cold weather gear, and they had told him to be ready to ride home because they were headed to invade the mainland of Japan. And then they dropped the bombs. So there's some conflict there for me. Of course, there's the scientific perspective of one of the biggest scientific undertakings the world has ever known. But there's also the human perspective of a lot of people died. And not all at once, and the ones that died, that lingered, died horribly. And I remember watching, it was either Race for the Super Bomb or Trinity and Beyond, and they showed the X-ray shadow of people at Hiroshima. And what an X-ray shadow is the concrete on the ground was exposed to X-rays from the detonation, but where that person had been, there was an outline, but they had been vaporized. So, nuclear weapons are no joke. And when our world leaders start joking about, or not joking, but start, hurling insults at each other that involve nuclear weapons, I get very anxious. So what I had done is there is a video that is a time-lapse video of every nuclear detonation that has happened on this planet. Most of them obviously were tests, but there's a time-lapse video that starts in 1945 with Trinity, and it ends in 1998. It does not have the North Korea tests on it. And I'm not going to say a whole lot about it, but if you watch it, I think your eyes will be quite widely opened to a variety of things. I showed my students the video today, just to give them some context about how this was a big deal. Okay? So anyway, I think it's important for them to understand that, because they don't really remember what it was like to live during those times of worrying about mutually assured destruction. And that hasn't gone away. That threat has not gone away. It may be more dispersed now, but there's still enough bombs out there to wipe this planet clean. I don't like thinking about that. and I want my students to not, it's not a joke. And, you know, when world leaders start using it as a poke and stick, as my dad called it, where you'd poke your little cousin to make them mad, that's not cool. That's not cool. Okay? Because all it takes is one person to push the button. And then everybody wants in on that. It's kind of like a Saturday night bar fight. Everybody wants a piece of that action. But anyway, so having said that, I was like, you know, we need to at least be aware of these things and understand the context of these things. So I showed this video, and I will link it below. It's about 7.5 minutes. But anyway, that's all I'm going to say about that. But anyway, so back to the science fair. It was really interesting to see what those kids were doing. There were some very sophisticated projects. I was very impressed with the quality of a lot of the projects that we had at the science fair. I got to judge with one of my former students and one of my colleagues, and it was really a pleasant, you know, it was an enjoyable time to get to meet these young people and visit with them and talk to them about their projects and to get to work with my student. I really enjoyed that. And I got to see a couple of my other former students that day, one of which I gave the baby present to. If you remember the little baby quilt and the burp cloths and the dragon lovey, well, surprise, Renee. I told her I had a gift for her, and so she came onto campus that morning and met me because she lives in Conway. She came over to campus and met me, and she was so tickled. It made me feel so good to see how happy she was to get that. And then I saw another one of my students had come down to judge because she works for the state, and I can't remember if she works for the Department of Health or Department of Environmental Quality, but she was there to judge, so I got to see her as well. And it was just really nice. It was a very nice experience. And there was some time in between where I sat and knitted because there was a break. You go and judge the kids' posters without them being there first. And then there's about an hour before they come back. And then you get to go interview them. And that was really cool. I enjoy getting to talk to the kids and to see their enthusiasm and everything. So anyway, so that's my science moments for today. So let's come back and talk a little bit about farm life. Okay, so what's been going on the farm lately? We've, you know, just been kind of getting by here, you know, this week. School is very, very busy, you know, toward the end of the semester, things get very, very hectic, and so I don't have a lot of extra time, and that has cost me when it comes to my horse preparation. But Trixie goes on Saturday for her first hoof trim, and so I have been working with her on her feet. And also, I have been working with my little mini horse Hershey so I can get him used to being handled because he's fixing to have his visit to the vet coming up fairly shortly. Last week, I didn't really get to ride at all, which was a shame because we had the Horseshow on Saturday. Now, the kids did great. The little girl that rode Gusty, she needed a good horse show because last year she didn't have a good one and she got really scared and things went very bad. Well, this year she came back in spades. She did so good. I was so proud of her, and Gusty was just a trooper. Well, I had planned to ride Gusty, but I get there and it becomes obvious that me trading out with her is going to become an inconvenience, because people are going to have to wait and it's going to be a hassle. So I am not a person that feels good about being an inconvenience to others. I don't know. I try to keep myself small. I say it like that. I try to keep myself small and keep myself out of the way and not cause too much trouble and not take up too much space and not ask for things probably when I need them and not ask for things that are mine to begin with. And so what ended up happening was, instead of showing Gusty like I planned, I brought my gelding up and showed him on the flat, which was the halter classes and the in-hand trail, which was fine. He was filthy. He was not in shape because he hasn't been ridden since December, because the person that we had riding him, it kind of all fell apart, and we need to get that going again. But, you know, be that as it may, we had not practiced any of these skills. And Ray Hunt says, prior proper preparation prevents piss poor performance. Now, Pat Pirelli says that, but Ray Hunt said it first. I think it was Ray Hunt. I hope it was. I need to look that up. But anyway, I had not worked with Bo. Now, he took it like a champ. He had his first, clipping where we clipped his whiskers and did all of that. And he was just so good, and I was so proud of him. But he was dirty, and he's a white horse. He had not learned to trot beside me yet. So we looked pretty silly. And, he took it like a champ, and I was pretty proud of him for that. But, we didn't do well. The judge didn't like him because he was a big horse. Big horses don't do well in halter because judges generally like compact, more quarter horse typey horses, and that's not what I breed for. I breed for more warm blood, which is the bigger, more long, athletic build horses. And that's fine. I mean, I knew that we weren't going to do well, and the person that won certainly deserved to win. Then we get to the riding part, and my intention had been to ride Gusty, and we had worked on the pattern and all of this stuff. Well, it was going to be a hassle because I was going to have to change saddles, 4 times. We were going to have to change saddles 5 times with her. And I just felt like, well, I don't want people to have to wait on me, and I don't want to be a problem, and I don't want to be, causing any trouble, and I didn't want to wear her out either and mess up, Zoe's chances of doing well. So, rather than say, I am going to ride my own horse, which is what I should have done, I decided I would ride a borrowed horse who was not even up. He had not been warmed up. He had not been groomed. So, I ate lunch, and then I should have not eaten lunch. I should have skipped lunch and just went and got him ready and got on him and warmed him up because I looked like an idiot. I walked out of there utterly humiliated. I mean, I'm not going to lie. By the time I was driving away from there, I was on the phone with my friend Carol, and I was sobbing. I was so mad at myself for not taking up space, for not saying, this is my horse. I want to ride her. I want my best chance to do well. Because, the horse that I was riding, he's a sweet horse, and he's fine, but he is not a show horse. He is not prepared. We were not prepared. He hadn't been ridden really since December. We didn't get to warm up, which I should have just skipped lunch and warmed him up. But I was hungry. And I'm a big girl. I like my food. So, the universe kind of aligned the situation, I guess, to teach me a lesson. And I learned it. Ride your brand. Ride your brand, and don't go into a show ring unprepared. Even if it's a fun show, even if it's a little farm show, you do not go in there unprepared. And I did, and I made an idiot fool of myself in front of everybody. I mean, I didn't act out, and I didn't get mad, and I didn't shine my ass, as my mom used to say. But, I looked like I couldn't ride. I looked like a fool. And it was humiliating. And it was in front of all the kids and all their parents. And so I got to eat a little humble pie and look like a fool. And learn the lesson of you need to be able to take up space. You need to learn to say what you need to do well. And if you're not prepared, say, no, I'm not going to do this today. You guys go on. I will do this another day. Because I'm not doing that again. I mean, I was humiliated. I was so upset that I was just ready to just pack up my stuff, take my horses and sell them and be done. And I know that's ridiculous because I'm not really going to do that. But in that brief moment, I felt utterly, utterly useless. And by the next day, it was fine. We had talked about it. And I'm like, look, I'm not doing that again. I'm either going to ride my own horse or I'm not going to ride, even if that means I bring Chips out of retirement. Chips has a stifle issue, but my vet had said that we could probably inject him with some joint supplement and that he would be okay to ride on the flat. So I may explore that option. I may ask for some different arrangements at the show Or maybe Bo will be going by then. I hope, maybe he'll be going where I can ride him, or somebody can ride him and I can ride one of my mares. But I'm never, ever going to go into a show ring with the odds stacked against me like that again. And it was my own fault. It was not anybody's fault but mine. And if somebody said, well, it's like you tell the kids you can't just go pull a horse up out of the pasture. And yeah, I should have just said, I'm riding my own horse. But what I should have done is had enough confidence in myself to say, I deserve this time and I deserve this space, and next time I will. I'm not the most confident person to begin with, and I'm certainly not the most confident rider because I came to riding a little bit later in life. And I've had a lot of people tell me that I don't deserve it because I didn't ride when I was a kid, and I don't agree with that. I've put my time in. I've been riding since I was 30 years old, so that's 18 years. I put my time in, I put my effort in, and I can do this. But it doesn't take much to knock the wind out of me. And on Saturday night, I was pretty winded. I was bawling. I was really upset. But, I don't mind being beaten. It's not that I was beaten. It was that I went in there and I was wholly just unprepared because my horse wasn't with it. The horse I was on was not mine. It was just not good. So I'm just not going to do that again. So I'll just either just say, no, I'm not going to do that again. I'll just help and y'all go on. Or I'll say, y'all just have to wait a few minutes while I change the saddle. And people will just have to wait. Hopefully they will. And if they won't, then they won't, and that's fine too. But not going to do that again because that was humiliating, and it don't take a lot to knock me down, and it knocked me down pretty hard. So I'm not going there again. But anyway, the kids though did fabulous. The little girl that actually got High Point rides a horse that I raised, and she has come back from, taking a green horse all the way up. And the girl that rides my other mare won a lot of classes too, so they all did really, really well. One of the older people there, one of the adults had her young horse that is green broke and took her through and did really good. So, there were a lot of wins that day. And my gelding, I was really proud of him for just handling it. He didn't finish, he didn't get anything but last place and everything, that he won to me because he handled everything so well. So next year, maybe he'll be riding and it'll be old hat to him because he's been through it all before now. So I'm going to put that positive on it and go from there. But yeah, prior preparation prevents piss poor performance, and I'm going to write that on my trailer wall, and I'm going to write it on my tack box so that every time I look at it, I remember, do not go in the show ring unless you're ready. So anyway, so other things that are going on here, bees are doing really great. They are working the yard still. I haven't mowed my yard yet. I'm sure people wish that I would, but it's the country. We don't have a homeowners association. Bunny rabbits are doing really good. I've got a yard bunny right now. One of my white rabbits got loose, and she's hopping around the yard, and I've tried to catch her 3 or 4 times, but she's pretty happy out there. So I'm like, okay, just don't go in the backyard where the dogs are and you'll be fine. Other than that, I think things are going really well here on the farm. So I'm going to come back and talk a little bit about some life in general. So Sunday was Easter, and I hope all of you guys got to spend some time with friends and family on Easter. Miss Marianne was kind enough to invite me over to her lunch, and we watched the kids hunt eggs, and she got even us grown-ups a little, it wasn't an Easter basket, it was an Easter bag. It was a really cute little woven bag that she'd picked up at the feed store. It was really pretty, and it had candy in it, which was nice. So we had a lunch, and then I sat and visited with her and Amber, and we had talked a little bit about the Horseshow, and we talked just about life stuff and everything. So that was good, and it made me feel better after the Horseshow because I was pretty down in the mouth Saturday night. So I was glad that I got to go over and visit with them for a little bit on Sunday. And that's pretty much what I did. I made a peach cobbler and took over there, and that was good. And I was looking at my Easter card. I had bought a couple of different Easter cards. I've been doing pen pals for seniors. I don't know if some of you guys remember, there was a Facebook post about a letter from an elderly lady that she had written to her neighbor, and it was basically, you know, my family is all gone. I live alone. I'm very scared. And will you be my friend? And that broke my heart. You know, and the lady that received that note, of course, reached out to her, and she started a group on Facebook called Pen Pals for Seniors. And I submitted an application and a letter last year to be a pen pal. And so I was matched with a very sweet lady from Tennessee. And I've been writing her, and usually she's really good to write back. And I'm getting kind of worried because I sent her a St. Patrick's Day card. I wrote her a letter in February, about the middle of February, and I got one back. And then I sent her a letter, and then I sent her a St. Patrick's Day card. And I usually put pictures in it of my animals and stuff. And then I sent her an Easter card, and I haven't gotten anything back from her in a month. And that's not normal. I'm starting to get a little worried. I mean, I know she lived with her youngest daughter. I really hope that if something has happened to Miss Glenda, that her family will let me know, you know, at least, and not just, you know, someday I get a letter in the mail or a post, something back in the post that says deceased written across it or something. But anyway, it's a good program. It's on Facebook. It's called Pen Pals for Seniors. And I really wanted to do it because that has to be so sad to be alone. And I mean, and I know what it's like to be alone. I live alone. And you know, that's going to be me one of these days. I mean, I don't have any family, and I'm not going to get married. I don't have any children. And, you know, one day I may be wishing somebody would write me a letter. So I really wanted to do this, and I really hope that she's okay. So, anyway, I just, you know, I had these, I'd sent her an Easter card. I sent her a different one besides this. I just picked up 2 or 3 different ones because they weren't very expensive. And so I really hope that she's okay. I certainly hope that her family would let me know if something had happened. But anyway, so look it up if you're interested. There's a little application process that you go through, but it's very straightforward. And then they'll match you with a senior, and they'll write you a letter. So check it out. Okay, I was listening to the Treehouse Knits podcast the other day, and she had some really interesting information about her knitting guild had bought a fleece. They had gone to a local fiber farm, and they had bought a fleece. And they had taken they bought 2, and they had taken it to a mill, and they had it spun into yarn, and they saw the cost of all of those things all along the way. And she was talking about the cost, you know, the final cost of the raw wool, or the raw, you know, undyed yarn being, you know, whatever it was $19 or $12 or something. And it brought her up to an interesting topic about, you know, if the person who is dyeing the yarn is charging you $28, $30 for a skein of yarn, they're already paying, you know, between $15 and $20, you know, between $12 and $20, we'll say, for that skein of yarn. Plus their dye, and their electricity, and their water, and their fixing, and their, oh, you know, all their other overhead, the pots and the pans and the soap and the all the stuff that it takes, the bands to put on their packaging, the time, you know, not even forget about their time. You know, I've seen plenty of conversations online. I'm on a Facebook group called Mildly Offensive Fiber Artists, and it is not for the easily offended, I will tell you that, but I do love what they have to say. And we've all, you know, every person who sews or knits or crochets or does any kind of craft has been in this position where somebody says, oh, how much will you charge me to make X, Y, or Z? I hate that. I don't sew for the public. I don't knit for the public. I don't crochet for the public. I don't mind trading with friends. I don't mind making gifts for people. I don't mind helping a friend out on a project, but I will not make you a dress or a quilt or any of that, because even if I don't charge you for my time, just the material cost to buy quality materials is probably going to be way more than most people are willing to pay. You know, I don't think most people who don't craft don't understand that fabric costs what? $7, $8, $10, $15, $20 a yard? You know, and that doesn't count the thread and the needles and the batting and the, you know, fixing your, you know, getting your sewing machine clean or whatever. yarn, even cheapo acrylic yarn, if you're going to make somebody an Afghan, you're into that for $70, $80, $90 before you've ever made one hook in it. So, as far as selling items, I respect the heck out of anybody who's willing to sell on Etsy or eBay or wherever, because I know that everything I make has a little piece of me in it. There's magic in those stitches, right? There's magic in that work. There's part of your soul, your blood, sweat, and tears has gone into that thing. And to put it out there for someone else to buy and then be critical of, that takes a brave, brave person. I am not that person. So, to then have someone want to tell you, well, your stuff's not worth that, that hurts down to your core. I've had that happen, and that hurts your core. So, anybody who is willing to put themselves out there as a dyer or a maker or a sewer or whatever, good on you, because you are a strong, strong person to do that. Now, that being said, people don't understand the cost of things. For example, running a farm. You know how you make a small fortune farming? You start with a big one. That's the truth, because at the level that I do it, I'm never going to make a living doing this. It's not happening, because there's too much overhead. There's too much overhead, and you do it because you love it. Just like people who do it because they love it. They're not ever going to get rich off of it. They'll be lucky if they break even. So they're doing it because they love it. So I hope that when people do these things, those who are engaging them for business realize that. Whether it's me who's selling grass-fed beef or eggs, or I sell gift baskets at Christmas, I've never had any problems. Well, mostly never had any problems with those things. I have had some issues with people when I do beef, because they don't understand that the cut of meat is the cut of meat, and you can't make a cow have more steaks than it has. Also, they don't understand that I sell my beef at 800 pounds, so it's smaller and more tender. You don't get gigantic steaks. You get very tender, delicious steaks. And so those people usually are struck off my customer list. If you give me any trouble, you don't get called back, basically. And the same thing I'm sure is true for anyone who dyes yarn or whatever. I was listening to the Shiny Beast podcast where Countess Ablaze was talking about this person tried to take advantage of her good nature and basically make her give them lots of her business, of her, her merchandise and time for free, when that is her business. And I'm pretty sure if it had been a man, they wouldn't have done that to her. So she actually rebelled, if you've been following that, and has raised money on her own and raised a lot of money. I'm very proud of that. But people will try to take advantage of you. I've learned this the hard way a few times by letting people pay things out. Now, I have paid things out. When I have bought a horse, I've asked to make a couple of payments or whatever. But I've been, done over pretty hard 3 times when I have sold animals to people. And so you learn the hard way that you can't do that. You just can't help people like that. And I hate to be that way, because I've had the courtesy extended to me before. But now, fool me 3 times, I'm done, But anyway, so, makers make because they love it. Farmers farm because we love it. Teachers teach because we love it. It's not a get rich quick. It's not a get rich slow. It's a hopefully break even and not go into the poorhouse thing. We do it because it's where our heart is. It's where our work is. It's our sacred duty, if you want to call it that. So, don't take advantage or don't let people take advantage of your goodness. Learn to take up space. Learn to say no. Because you know what? If they're trying to mess you over like that, their heart's not really in the right place. So, I learned the hard way that volunteering can become a drug. Almost. After my mom died, I needed something to do to keep myself from kind of losing it. So I started volunteering quite a bit. And there are volunteer groups that are very good to you. And that's why I still help the ones that I help. And there are ones that will treat you like a paid employee. And by that I mean they think they can take advantage of you. They can call you any time of the day or not. They can put demands on your time and make you feel bad if you don't do what they want you to do. And if you're a volunteer, you should be able to say no. I'm not good at saying no. I'm getting better, but I'm not good at it. And I've learned to say no. That's the reason why I still help the people that I help, because they treat me very well. So, take up space, take care of yourself, and value what you do. Always value what you do, whether it's raise animals or teach or help children or, make things. You're valuable, and that matters. Anyway, that's kind of a long diatribe to say, I'm proud of the people that I know that make things and that do things, that teach and that help people learn, whether it's work in a library or teach music lessons or teach, traditional classes or mentor people. I'm proud of the people who are creative. I'm proud I know you, and, I'm proud of my kids at the barn for learning, and I'm proud to be part of that program. I'm proud to be a volunteer at the state park and help out there, because anytime you're educating the public, I think that is a noble, noble thing to do. Anyway, that was kind of a long ramble. I hope you guys are doing good. I hope you enjoyed this episode. I was a little bit rambly, and I apologize for that. But I hope that you're doing great and that you're meeting your crafting goals and you're enjoying what you're doing. And until I see you again, y'all take care of each other, take care of yourself, and peace out. Bye.